Hello friends. Okay, today we are going to practice another word, and I know we've been practicing handwriting, but I thought that if I did this like stroke by stroke practice with just regular handwriting, it would be kind of boring because there aren't as, because the letters aren't connected, there isn't as much to practice. So I thought that we would do this today, and then for our quote tomorrow, I'm going to be using part of this word with our handwriting, if that makes sense. You'll see it tomorrow. But anyway, I wanted to see if you could guess what the word is. I feel like this one is not too hard to figure out. But we are going to be doing joyful. Now tomorrow, the word that I'm going to be using in the phrase is joy, but I thought that we would just practice joyful to get a little extra practice in. So as you can see, here are strokes up here, and there are a couple of duplicates. The Y and the U are the same, and then we have a couple, let's see, yeah, right after the U. Maybe that's the only one that's the same. Anyway, we have a couple that will feel pretty familiar to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and get practicing. So today I'm using this Writex Sign Brush Pen, and I'm just going to go through. I'm going to need to adjust a little bit because I can't see. I'm going to go through and just practice each of these strokes. Now I do put the arrows on here because that way, since these are a little out of context, it can be hard to figure out if they're an upstroke or a downstroke. Not all of them are hard, but occasionally there's one that's a little bit, could go either way. So we have the arrows right here, and these are just meant to practice each of these strokes before we practice the actual word, so that when you get to the word, you know what you're doing, and it should feel pretty comfortable for you. So somebody recommended doing a scripture verse, and I was going to do the whole thing, but the way that it kind of laid out on the paper, I decided maybe it would be fun to just do a little portion of it. So tomorrow's tomorrow's like phrase that we're going to be doing is count it all joy. So that's why I decided to just do joyful today, and then we'll just kind of take the first half of this worksheet, and that's what we'll be using tomorrow. So I hope that is fun for you, and I'm going to do it in my handwriting journal again. We have an O here, and remember I like to start my O's over here, because this is going to be, no matter how poorly I connect it together, it's going to be hidden by this next stroke. So that's totally fine. And that's why I like to do that on that side. And just keep in mind that if we are going at different paces, feel free to go slower than me if you need to. That's totally fine. If we don't finish it all in 10 minutes, we can always come back to it tomorrow. And if you are wanting to print these out in like a notebook, these printables, I have found that printing them out at 60% of the size is a pretty good size for my notebook. And when I say notebook, I'm talking about like a journal, not like a large 8.5 by 11 notebook. And then this is going to be the top of the Y, or the first stroke in the Y, and then also the first stroke in the U. So that's why we have it just one time on here. And I would love to hear how your practice is going. If you, I've been hearing from a lot of you that you really enjoyed just finding time to sit down and spend a little time practicing lettering every day. I have loved hearing how it's helped you guys. I've received many comments where you've shared stories of how you've changed different habits, or what you're doing, or how it's helping you, or how you're able to find time to practice each day. So please keep sharing those with me if you have them, because that is really fun for me to hear how it's going on the other side of the screen because I can't see you guys practicing. So hearing about it is fun as well. All right, so this is the start to our F, and then as you can see, there's like an upstroke here. So it's our Y is starting off our F, like this part of the Y, and we have the main part of the F, and then this one. So I'm not practicing this again because it's the same or very similar to that one. And that's one thing that you just should keep in mind when you're hand lettering. It's actually, lettering connections, I think, are tricky for people unnecessarily because they're actually not, you're not trying to really connect your letters. What you're trying to do is draw the last stroke of your letter far enough up and over to where your next letter simply overlaps it. So you're not actually trying to like connect this F within the L. You're trying to draw, or I'm sorry, the U. You're trying to draw the stroke up to be exactly where you're going to start your U. And then here, when I draw this part of the U, I stop right here, and then I come back around with my L. And so it's really more being intentional about where your stroke is ending than it is connecting your next letter. If you don't do that, then it does get really hard to connect your letters because you will have this like, you know, stroke ending here, but then you want to start up here, and it can just, it's just trickier to get it to look nice and seamless. So that is really the trick, is to take a second, if you need to, think about where you want your next letter to start, and then make it easy by ending the letter before it in that spot, if that makes sense. I know that might be a complicated way to explain it. I much prefer to show you what I'm talking about. But I will show you when we get down to the words here. So we have joyful. And then we're going to practice the actual words. All right, so if we go down here, this is what I'm talking about. We're going to do our first stroke, lift up your pen, next stroke, and then we're going to kind of stop where this next letter is. I kind of went a little too far over, but then I'll just make my O go a little far. All right, so now you can see this O is ending exactly where I want to start my Y. So same thing here. Problem is my hand's kind of in front of my pen, so I can't exactly see. But now I have this ending here, and I'm not connecting anything to it. I'm really just starting here so that my pen goes down and around. Lift it up again, end at the top of my U. Lift it up again, start here, end here. And see, I don't even need to connect this. I can just start a little bit over, and there you go. Let me do it again where I'm not stopping so much. And I can show you just how simple it really is. Let me move this up a little though so I can see what I'm doing here. And there you have it. Super simple. I know it doesn't always feel simple, but it really is if you kind of think of it that way. Before you then start this letter, think about how you're ending the letter before it, and that will make it much easier to connect your hand lettering. All right, so I hope this was fun for you. Let me know if you were able to finish this whole worksheet or if you're going to come back to it later. And then tomorrow we're going to use this first part in the quote that I'm doing, or if you want to do a different quote, that's fine, or phrase, or even just one word all over the page. I just think that it's been fun to try to make sure that on Fridays we get something kind of completed onto the page. So that's what I'm doing in my hand lettering journal here, and I thought that I would keep going with that this week. So thanks so much for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.